But yeah, I think I like that you're dressed really preppy and I kind of feel like a baddie right now.
Yeah, you're just like a baddie. I like it with a little chain.
I've
I'm
got
just
my
looking
like
for.
three necklaces, all my rings, my
I realize I really like this show.
I really like this show too.
When I start thinking of rewrites, it's because I really
Oh,
like.
I rewrite every show I watch.
Like, no, in my head, this is how it happened.
Once I start watching a show and get really into it, I basically start writing. I wouldn't call it fan fiction, but like it's essentially that because it's like basically how I would write the show, but like I make different characters and like I make different like I just basically make a show that is that show, but how
Yeah,
I would do it.
like 50 Shades of Grey. Okay,
Or do
this
you
is
want to move
something I
on?
thought was interesting too. In the world of the show, and I don't know if it's like a generational thing. Because to my understanding, like I feel like I'm like Haley's age. You're like Alex. I don't know, whatever. I feel like I was like, well, I'm like the eldest. I feel like I'm more like Haley's age. Luke's more like very like younger sibling vibes, and I guess so is Manny's. Like the same. I don't know if this is like the way things are with kids these days, but I thought it was like weird to me that Alex, at least early on, seemed to like guys were never into her in high school. Like they kind of presented her as like she's not conventional, even though she is. But like I guess in the show, like oh she's like a nerdy girl. She's not like a cute popular girl like Haley. Um, and then just like I guess her perspective. But then Manny has girls after him, but I feel like he's also fills a similar role. Like he's not like conventionally the beauty standard plus you. Like he's kind of like like you know what I mean. I feel like they would have had a similar issue where I feel like girls would have gone for Luke over Manny the way they went for like Haley over Alex. And I thought it was always weird, but he always had pussy. Like he had so many girls after him.
No, I think
It's just
you're right. I remember also thinking, like, when I was a kid and it was appropriate for me to like think this, I would be like, oh, Manny's not as good looking as like Luke and stuff like that. And like, I think they like play it off like, oh, but Manny's like a sweet, sensitive guy, so he like
I
attracts
guess.
like the artsy girls. But you're right, it is
I feel
weird.
like him and Luke like compete for girls. And like I feel like they're always having like equal, which not that like Luke's like, but
I think
I don't know.
Luke is
I just
super
thought it was
hot.
weird because I just thought it was weird, especially in comparison to Alex. Like Alex never had a chance with any guys. Like no guys paid her second look, even though she was like a cute girl that was like smart. I don't know.
Okay,
Maybe I guess
I will
girls are
say
just
this:
less picky.
girls usually wait around for guys to make a move on them, and Manny and Luke or especially Manny, was really outspoken about his feelings, so he would ask out a lot of girls and like do that. And I think Alex wouldn't put herself out there the way Manny did, which is why I
Yeah.
think Manny would have girlfriends and Alex did. Like I think if Alex put herself out there, she would also have boyfriends. But because she didn't,
Yeah. She's kind of a bitch too, I guess, in high school. But
I
yeah.
think she also wasn't interested in dating, it seemed like a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, I think she
obviously
wasn't like interested in dating, but she was definitely always like insecure about guys. Like, I don't think it took a long time for her to think of herself as like dateable or like attractive. Like, I remember a couple of scenes where she was just like, guys would never want to date me. Why would they want to date me?
yeah, well I think she struggled with like her looks and like yeah, guys being into her. I do think it was always really heartwarming when her and Haley had scenes like that where Haley's like, no, like you're a catch, like you're beautiful and like you're smart and you're
Yeah.
awesome. And like they would have cute scenes like that where like Haley like I think they had a scene recent or not recently, but in one of the episodes I watched recently where like Haley was showing Alex how to like flirt with the guys that were like at the roller rink that they were talking to or whatever.
That's so
And
cute.
at one point like they basically made like a comment where Haley's like, "Don't correct them. Like guys don't like it when you correct them." And then they were so dumb that Haley was like, "Yeah, look, we can pretend like we can talk to guys and like not correct them, but like I don't want to date a guy who like doesn't even know like blah, blah, blah. Like she's just like we don't have to pretend that we're stupid or anything like that. Like it's kind of like no, like you're still great. Like you shouldn't change yourself, but like learn how to like play the game a little bit." Which I thought was like kind of like a cute sister scene where she's like imparting her wisdom.
I feel like they lost a bit of that like sisterly stuff later on. So I think that was like a main part of it in like the early seasons.
Yeah, I think what I would have liked to see, and like I totally related to that because me and my sister fought like crazy when we were younger, especially since we shared a room and Alex and Haley shared a room. It was like we fought all the time. I was a total bitch to her. Anyways, I was saying Alex and Haley fought a lot, and that was really relatable. But I kind of think I would have liked if the show did a little bit more of them like being sweet to each other as sisters. Because I feel like for a lot of the time it felt like they didn't like each other.
Yeah, I think they just I felt like they started on the track of doing something like that and then just left it, and I don't know if there's any like real like resolution to it. I just thought it would have been interesting to revisit that as like they're both adults. That was more than just, can I date your ex? And she was like, sure. Which I would probably say no. My sibling? No, don't, please. Or like they should have told me not to. I don't know, that's so, to me that's so weird. Like dating, especially like she brought him home to like
I
her
don't know.
family.
I don't know how I'd feel because I guess at the time Haley's got a husband and 2 kids. I would like I wouldn't say no to my sister dating my ex boyfriend if I was like married with kids, but I do think it's a little weird.
I guess is she married at that point?
I think because she gets married to Dylan before they have the babies.
Okay. Okay, I guess I would probably say yes to my sibling aspect, but I would think my sibling's fucking weird for wanting to. Like I would judge them hard. And to my parents, I'd be like, that's super weird. That's so weird.
Would especially think it's super weird because that was like not an insignificant relationship in Haley's life.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It wasn't like she went on a date. If she had gone on a date, that's fine. And I also feel like that should have been a lesson to Alex as well. Like if like it could have been a lesson like, oh, Alex didn't speak up. She was like too shy or too embarrassed and like didn't want to go, so she lost that. And I don't know if she should have got. I thought it was there not like a significant age difference too between him and Alex?
Well, he was her professor.
He looked old. Okay,
so he's probably
it's a little weird.
A decade at least older than her.
I thought him and Haley were fine together too. I didn't hate it.
I didn't hate him and Haley together. I was kind of confused by it because it was clear Alex was into him. Like, I know he's her professor.
Yeah.
I didn't think anything was going to happen, but I was kind of confused that they went down that road. Like, it felt like they almost wanted to create some sort of a weird love triangle between Haley, Alex, and this guy, and I was like, he's not worth a love triangle. No offense.
Yeah, that's fair. Fucking, I had to look up his name. It's Arvin or Arwen. Arvin. Yeah, I was gonna say something about.
But okay. One thing I would say is I do think Alex and Haley have a better relationship at the end. That like they don't show a lot, but they are like clearly like friends, kind of. Which I think is they've become adults, so they can be friends now.
Yeah, just we'll forget about what else? Who else do we want to talk about? I feel like we talked about the people that I mostly wanted to talk about.
Okay, one extra person I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, go for
it. Is Jay, who is probably, I think he has the most character growth on the show. So he's my favorite character because he changes so much, and he's like the one that like grows up the most. Like he starts off as like a mildly homophobic, like repressed stereotype of a rich white guy with his young hot wife. And then like as we move through the series, he like opens up a lot more. like mainly thanks to Gloria, and like he becomes a more like caring and loving father. And like you see it with his older kids, with Claire and Mitch. Like Claire and him always had a good relationship, but with like him and Mitch, he finally like actually becomes accepting of it, of like Mitch being gay and like all that stuff. And then like you see it a lot with him and Manny. And then
yeah,
like,
oh my god, I love their relationship.
it's him
It's
and
so
Manny
cute.
is so sweet. And then I feel like you really see how much he's changed when he and Gloria have Joe, because he's like he
Yeah,
went from being like, they always talked about how he wasn't really around as a dad, to being like a very present father, and like he really wants to be a part of like Joe's formative years and not just like be gone all the time like working and stuff like that. And then like yeah, so I just think they show his emotional journey a lot really well throughout like his relationships with all the characters. And Gloria
yeah,
definitely pushes a lot of that forward, but I think, and we talked about this earlier, yeah, like Phil does that a lot too. Like he really helps Jay open up, I think, as well. Like forces
yeah.
Jay to be more
He's
honest.
definitely, yeah, Jay's a character that really needed to be like cracked. There's people like that that really need to be like cracked open. Like they need like the intense line of questioning characters to come in and like basically harass them until they decide to be vulnerable. I feel like there are people like that, which is kind of a fun dynamic.
No, I think it's an awesome dynamic, and I think I really liked when there was like a turning point somewhere like around season 5 or 6 where like Jay is talking to Manny about the anniversary gift he got for Gloria, and he like made her like a
Oh,
little like clay thing. I don't know if you remember that. And he just says to Manny, "She's not sensitive like you and I." And I'm like,
Jay is sensitive.
like Jay, you just see how he's become such a more emotionally vulnerable person, but also just like how sweet and sensitive and like caring he is as a person.
Yeah, he really like blossoms into like his sensitivity. And like one thing I also like about Jay is like they have like the one-off episodes is the way he his relationships with his like friends change. Like you can really see him kind of like deconstructing like toxic masculinity when he like stands up to like his friends at like the golf club and like friends from like out of town and stuff. I feel like those episodes were always really significant because there's always some conflict with his friends where he realizes he doesn't really like these people anymore. Like they were kind of toxic to him, or like they're mistreating like they're joking about like his son being gay and stuff, and he would finally like kind of stand up to them and wouldn't like hide things from anymore was big as well.
I also really liked his relationship with, I think it was Shorty, who like where it's like Jay became more emotionally open with him, and you could tell that like Shorty, who also craved that like closeness that like he and Jay hadn't previously had. And so it sort of showed that like because Jay wasn't willing to be open with his friends, he didn't realize that his friends wanted that too and wanted to stick
Yeah,
around,
yeah.
which I thought was just awesome. Like I
It's
love
like,
seeing that
yeah.
dynamic. That even late in life in their friendships, they can still like grow and like realize things about each other.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know that's fun too. It's like the old dog new tricks thing. Yeah, it's so cute.
Just every time Jay learns and grows, I'm so proud of him, and I'm like so like happy. Like I just think he's like a really, he was such a good character, especially because they did show why he wasn't comfortable with like Mitch being gay and stuff like that, and they did show like where a lot of his misunderstandings and confusion came from, I think, throughout like the whole series. And then like they
Yeah.
slowly dismantle it just through like his life and like him loving his family.
Yeah, he like totally changes his perspective.
Yeah. Well, and Gloria calls him out a lot on his shit.
Yeah, Gloria.
But yeah, I just wanted to talk about Jay because I love him.
No, yeah, that was worth talking about. Yeah, he is a great character.
Anyone else, or do you want to move on to the finale discussion? And by that, I just mean you talk about the finale if you want.
Yeah, well, I know we talked about already like a couple things we would rewrite, but yeah, I already talked about how it stresses me out that Dylan and Haley have no money and 2 kids. I just look at it, I'm like, oh fuck, dude, like.
I divided my finale takes into good things about it and bad things about
Oh,
it.
okay. Go ahead.
And so I would say my good things about it, like what I enjoyed about it, is like it was really an ending. Like everyone's moving on, even though
Yeah.
Haley and Dylan have no money. Like they're moving out and starting adulthood. Alex is leaving on like an actual scientific adventure, which I feel like Alex did in one season and then was kind of entitled about it and was like Antarctica fucking sucks and like all this shit. And it's like, yeah, but you signed on for that. Like you knew it wasn't gonna be great.
Yeah.
So, but she's leaving again, which I think is exciting, and she's taking like a risk in like romance and stuff. I'm like, I think like Luke goes to college or whatever at the end, like he gets into college, and like,
how does Haley Bailey get into college, but then Luke gets into college?
and he goes to community college first, and
then okay.
gets into a real college, and then okay, I also love what happens with Jay, where he's learning Spanish so he can go to Columbia with Gloria and Joe.
Oh my god, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, and then Mitch and Cam and Lily are moving like to Missouri or whatever. And like Claire and Phil sort of like show they're kind of gonna embrace being empty nesters. Like they're going on a road trip, but it's not like a long road trip or anything, and they are gonna like venture into a new chapter of their lives. I really enjoyed that. I didn't like how unrealistic it was that they all just happened to be moving on
they
at
all
the exact same time.
Life-changing events happening.
I felt like a lot of these things could have slowly been done throughout the season. Like maybe
like one episode says goodbye to like one family, and the next episode says goodbye to like the other family, kind of thing.
Like kind of like maybe Haley and Dylan move out at the beginning of season 7, and like or like midway through season, like you kind of see like them start to like move on with their chapter, and then you don't really see them as much. Maybe like Alex sort of gets this job opportunity earlier, but she's not leaving until later, and like you kind of see her.
It's like set up.
Like there's more setup to it. It feels like it was just like bang, bang, bang. This is what's happening. Like they didn't all have to leave at once, but like I felt like a lot of the things that were going on or that were revealed were all kind of at once. And I would have liked some more like it being shown and like seeds being planted and stuff like that. I also straight up kind of feel badly for Joe because he won't have that same like crazy family.
That's so true.
That everyone else will have, that everyone else had, and like I come from like a big family that was always like crazy and stuff like that, and I just think it's so sad to think that like he won't get like the same sort of amazing experiences that like his relatives all got. Like his siblings are all so much older than him, and
it's weird. That must be such a weird dynamic to be that like youngest late in life child. Like he's basically an only child about like the way he's gonna be raised.
Yeah, like I think he's like
Manny's an adult.
He's not very old when Manny like moves out. Like him and Manny have a relationship. They are brothers, but not the same. And I just think it's so sad because that like chaotic family environment I think shaped a lot of them and made them all into who they are.
True. That's interesting.
And then, I also don't believe that Luke would get into college, but fine, he got into college. I don't believe Luke.
I don't understand if he's like, is he like, has like a learning disability? Like, is he like mentally challenged in the show, or is he just like?
I'm pretty sure, even though they don't like ever say it, Luke has ADHD or like ADD or whatever. Like he like he can't like stop moving and like.
Yeah.
They never like do it. Sorry, I don't know if it's like HD or ADD, but like it's like he's always like. It's like not like a learning disability. I just think Luke has like trouble, like, they address it at one point, but then Claire says, never mind, I don't want to give my kid meds. Or something like, or like Bill says that, I don't know. But basically, it's just like.
Did they give it to him and he's like really boring and looks like really depressed, kind of, or something? Is that
depressed? It's just.
Or like, he just loses his little like Luke spark.
Yeah, they basically say at the end, like, oh no, Luke's special just the way he is. But I was kind of like, in my head watching it, no, if your child needs medication to like be able to do everyday tasks, you should give him the medication he needs to do everyday tasks.
Or at least like do something else to help with like the odd therapy session, like some tools.
Because I do think Luke has
change of habits.
Like I don't think it was a misdiagnosis that Luke had ADD. I do think he lacks an ability to sit still or focus or do any of that. That's not like a bad thing, but like he can get help for that so that he can like function in the way that the school system is designed for him to function.
I kind of thought maybe, at least like early on watching, it would have been interesting, or like maybe I thought it was going to happen, that like the mockumentary thing was Luke filming. Because I thought he was like into making movies, because they kind of introduced that. So I was like, oh, is this going to be like him? He's like filmed his family.
That would be really fun. That would have been cool, I think.
I was kind of expecting a way for them to like tie up that this like the mockumentary ship. They just didn't.
I kind of forgot it was a mockumentary show, to be honest. So I wasn't.
And they did like one episode. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like you just forget it. Where like it was for their grandpa's birthday. That could have been a fun recurring bit where like if every season had an episode where it was like, oh, this was all a video for like grandpa's birthday. Like they do this every year. I don't know, something like that. Something to tie it together. I was thinking of ways to include Luke.
I just think, yeah, Luke's character, they also kind of like didn't do anything with.
Yeah.
It felt like they didn't know what to do with like a lot of the kids. But I don't believe that Luke, as the character they showed, would want to go to college. Like, I feel like that just like for him wouldn't be the path he wants to go down. I believed Haley wanted to go to college. I didn't really believe Luke felt the same. I felt like Luke was a character who very much, like, he had entrepreneur vibes. Like, he wanted to sort of figure it out and, like, live his life that way. And I don't think college was necessary.
Like a YouTuber.
Yeah, I just felt like college wasn't necessarily the move for him. It doesn't mean that, like, college isn't valuable. I think it's important, but I don't think it was, like, what I saw him doing. But I feel like they just didn't know what to do.
I thought him and Manny would end up together in the finale, not like dating, but like, and at like either school together or like doing a gap year together. Because I feel like their friendship was really fun to watch develop. Like they were like very close uncle and nephew, but like, yeah. So I thought, I don't know, maybe it would have been interesting if he had gone to Columbia with them, or I don't know, if he was doing something with Manny, or like if they were starting a business together, could have been interesting.
No, I think it would have been a really fun, like, end of the season if him and Manny decided they wanted to travel together for a bit.
Mm-hmm. And pick up girls. I could totally see them doing that.
And like that was what they decided. And like, I don't need to know what Luke's up to now, because I feel like Luke is someone who, he's either gonna like be really successful in whatever he picks, or he's just gonna live in his parents' basement forever. And I don't see Luke living any sort of middle ground life.
Yeah, I don't think it was ever relevant. To me, it was never relevant what he ended up doing, the same way it was for maybe like Haley or Alex, who are like, I really wanted to see succeed in like their careers. But for Luke, it like never really mattered. Like you could have kind of put him anywhere.
I didn't think
it wouldn't have changed as long as he was just happy.
Like, I don't think I needed to see Luke grow the same way I need to see Haley and Alex grow.
Yeah.
And I think in part that's probably because they did a bad job at developing his character much.
He didn't have a lot to deal with.
He didn't have like hot and dumb.
Really any. He had like a learning disability, I guess. Maybe we're not even sure.
I think they could have developed his character a little more, but they chose to go a different direction with the show where they focused more on the parents.
Yeah. Which is fine, I guess.
Which is totally fine, but I think that's why we care less about what Luke did. I think college was kind of out of left field.
It was a really boring and didn't really make sense. It didn't feel very fulfilling.
It kind of felt like if you wanted Luke to like want to go to college, you could have talked about that also earlier in the season or in the season before, where you're like, Luke, what do you want to do with, like, they have conversations where Luke's like, I want to go to college. Like, Luke sort of admits maybe to Manny or something that like that's something he wants to do. So that like we see, he's like, I want to be an entrepreneur. Manny's not even
going to college, right? Like Manny's taking a gap year.
College.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
I was going to Columbia.
Well, I think he's like, Manny's not going to Columbia in the finale. Joe and
was that a different season?
He did go, I think he was going on like an adventure or something with his
dad or something like that. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's really different season.
But I do think that Manny was in college in the last season or 2 seasons. I can't remember how long he was in college for. And Luke was in community college. And I just think maybe if Luke had talked to Manny and been like, college is something I want to do because I want to be an entrepreneur and I think I need that, then like I would have been like, okay, yeah. But because like the way Luke seems to have approached his life so far, I just did not expect him to want to go to college.
You know, it would have been funny if Luke actually became like a successful magician.
Yo, that would have
Like
been
if that, and then Phil
awesome.
would have been like, "Oh my god, mate!" Like
Phil would have been so flippin' proud.
I don't know. I feel like they could have just done something wacky like that with him, and it would have worked. Like, because I feel like he's the type of guy that would just luck out. He would just like be happy, and it would work out.
Yeah, no, I think they should have just made Luke get really lucky in like whatever random career path, and then like he did it, made a lot of money, and I was like, nah, it's kind of boring. I think I'm gonna try something new. Like almost like he comes back one season and he's just like really famous and on like some reality show or something. He's like, yeah, but I'm tired of that life. I'm gonna do something else.
Yeah, like he could have totally. If he's gonna be a talk show host, I'd have been like, yeah, that tracks. Like I don't know. They could have done like literally anything with him.
They could have done so much. I feel like the show also potentially needed more like people who were writing for specific characters and keeping track of like what was going on with like specific characters. Like almost if they had, and I don't really understand how making a TV show works, so I don't want to like.
No, but that sounds really
smart. Say they did it wrong, but like if you basically had one writer who was like focused on keeping the storyline of such and such character alive, then like they could like develop them and like put them into the show in like different dynamics, and then you would work with other people to like make sure these characters continue being
especially
relevant.
when you have a show with this many characters, especially when they all grow up.
Yeah, because it's hard to keep track of them all.
Yeah.
So like I get why characters fell by the wayside, and I think a way to organize it would be to basically have someone in charge of each character.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, like if this character fails, it's because you aren't pushing for storylines with this character.
Yeah, it does feel like some of them were just maybe like forgotten about a little bit. We haven't talked about Cam and Mitch at all.
But do you want to talk about Cam and Mitch?
I'll bring them up in my hot takes, but I was gonna say that I thought like the pacing was weird with Cam and Mitch's their second child adoption. Because was it not like before the finale? Was it not like 3 seasons or something about like crazy before that they were like, oh, we're gonna adopt a little boy, and they make that decision, then it's like a cliffhanger. But then they just go. Eventually, like they decide not to, and in the finale they get the phone call and they do. And I thought that was really weird pacing.
I thought it was strange. Basically, what happens is because I just watched the season like a couple weeks ago.
Perfect.
They decide, at the end of the season that they're gonna adopt another kid and they want to adopt a boy. And then like they go through the season of like dealing with adoption issues and like they sort of, I think, over the season realize a little bit that they're not the best parents all the time. And then at the end of the season, they like go to get the kid, like the kid being born, and Gloria finds out she's pregnant as well at that time. And I think basically what happens is they don't get the kid, like the people decide to keep the kid or whatever, and then Gloria's pregnant and they kind of forget about adopting because it's too exhausting and emotional. Let's just get the last. No, yeah. So basically, I think then at the end of the season, when Gloria's pregnant and they don't get the kid, they're like, "Oh, I'm exhausted. I don't want to keep trying anymore." And then I think they kind of forget about it all.
I guess that makes sense. I just thought it was kind of random. I just thought it was weird that they did end up, because I kind of took that. Oh no.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was weird that they got a second kid because I felt like the resolution to them having a second kid was real and honest and like felt good.
Yeah.
But I guess they talk about it like when they decide to adopt the like kid or whatever. They say like, "Oh, should we do this? Like we've made our peace. We're not having another kid. We're really happy with our lives," that kind of thing.
What they could have done is like, I feel like when they were taking in all like the billets, not sorry, it wasn't even billets. It was just like some random kid from the high school that they took in. But like families taking professional. I thought it could have just been maybe like they took in like a foster kid and like adopted maybe like an older kid. I think that would have been maybe better than like them getting a baby again.
I felt like that too a little bit. Like it felt like a lot of the time they had kids in their life. Like they took in like
Yeah.
the football player kid for a little bit, and they took in Cam's sister's kid for a while.
Oh right, okay, yeah.
And I just felt like they could have made one of those more permanent, or they could have been like, I want to adopt, and they found out they couldn't get a baby, and be like, what if we adopted an older kid? Like, does it have to be
Yeah.
baby? Or like
That
after
would've
they
been
like took in
interesting.
like one of those kids another time, it's like, oh, I would be maybe we should foster. Like I really enjoyed that or something, but no, it has to
Yeah,
be a
or like
baby or
the
nothing.
kid's like gonna get drafted but like can't go because they don't have like I don't know a family, like they live in the foster system or something, and then they could have been like, okay, we're gonna adopt you and move to Missouri so you can. I don't know. Like it would have been fun if it like worked out that way more so than them getting a baby because I do think they're kind of bad at having a young child.
I also just like I don't think that they were the best parents. I don't think they were like terrible, but I don't necessarily
No,
think
yeah,
they were
they're
great.
good.
But I just think also it would really lean into like the like modern family thing where it's like, oh,
Yeah,
not all families start with like a baby. Sometimes you adopt a kid at like 3 or 4 or 7 or like 15. Like that can happen
yeah,
too. And they can still
for
be
sure.
just as much a part of your family than like having adopting a baby.
I agree. Do you think they'll ever do like a reunion? Think they'll ever reboot it? They probably will. They probably will. They could do like Sarah Hyland. They could do like the kids. They're not doing anything.
I could see them like doing some. They definitely would do a reunion because I'm pretty sure everyone in Modern Family went to Sarah Hyland's wedding recently.
Oh yeah, I
So
saw
like
it was
they
really
all
cute.
still keep in
Oh,
touch.
that was so cute. Then I kind of felt bad for her real family. It was like, oh, I wonder if those photos went viral. Probably not.
No, Jesse Tyler Ferguson officiated her wedding. The guy who plays Mitch.
Oh shit, that's really cool. It seemed like a
Haley
pretty
and Mitch's
healthy
relationship was always fun.
cast. Sorry.
I said Haley and Mitch's relationship was always fun. It was just sort of like randomly they were like kind of close.
They were like girlfriends. They were like, oh my god, boys. Like they kind of got each other. Well, I think it's as well. I feel like that was also probably like the tension with Haley and her mom. She'd be like, "Oh, my mom today," and then Mitch would be like, "Yeah, my sister's was great." Like they could bond over dealing.
I think also like
Claire.
Mitch always like surprised me at how good he was at like I feel like doing girl talk and stuff like that.
Yeah, he was so good at like dealing with Haley and Alex and talking through their issues with them. Actually, like I think they got the most from conversations with him.
I don't think that they could get anything from Claire because I think Claire is too judgmental.
Yeah, it probably comes from like being protective of them, but like yeah, it's also like your mom. I think like a lot of times they would talk to her about things, and she's like, absolutely no, you're not doing that. Which is fair because you're their mom, but like, especially when it's like boyfriends that like she already didn't like, or like situations that she was already against and things
I
like
was
that.
so mad at Claire because she was always so mean to Dylan. And it just felt like, why are you doing this? Like, Dylan hasn't really done anything to you except for that, he's dating your daughter and he's 17 and whatever. But, like, I just felt like she never gave Dylan a real chance and she was so mean to him all the time. And it
She
was
was
like,
really judgy.
it was also,
I mean,
yeah. I don't know. Like,
I'd probably sit my daughter down and we'd have like discussions over like what are the qualities that you think are, and like what do you, I don't know, but you can't just be petty to the point where they come over. Like that's not healthy.
well, I feel like at one point I remembered Haley like was dating someone else and he basically I think cheated on her and Claire was like still better than Dylan and I'm like, is he? Because Dylan loves Haley. Like he would never do
Oh my
anything
god,
to
that's
hurt
so
her.
mean.
So like I don't know why you're supportive of this guy, but not of Dylan.
I think, to be fair, because Dylan and Haley dated when they were like teenagers, I think that like Dylan was the reason why Haley like broke a lot of the rules, like snuck out a lot and like went places she shouldn't and was doing things she shouldn't. And I think that like Dylan was like her, what do you call it, partner in that, or like accomplice in that. So I could kind of see from that angle, like, oh well, your boyfriend doesn't like respect, but at the same time, that's kind of between you and Haley in the song.
I think my thing with it was if she just doesn't like Dylan, Haley's 15, and the odds that she actually ends up with Dylan are low, even though like the show ended up doing that. So like from there they'll probably break up. You could just be a supportive mom and like also support your daughter, because like when her and Dylan broke up, Claire celebrated and Phil was like, I get it, it's really sad and stuff like that.
And Phil was so supportive of Haley in like everything.
Phil and Haley's relationship was so sweet. Like it was shocking.
That episode where she's going to like, she's gonna get kicked out of school, and they drive. Oh my god, he was so hot. He just said, "I'm get this for a damn waffle," and like he like calls her out on like not being grateful for her. That was so good. That was such a good character. Whoever wrote that episode.
The other thing I was gonna say about Dylan really quickly though, it was a really good character thing. I really loved it, but I was gonna say, like after like a season or two though, Dylan stopped being like the bad influence, and Haley was really the bad influence, because Dylan was fine to just like chill with Haley whenever, wherever, and like Dylan wanted to do sort of the more kiddie stuff that Haley was always like, let's sneak out for a party or whatever, and Dylan's like, well, but we're at like Wonderland or whatever, or not Wonderland, or just like Disneyland. Oh damn!
Oh, there goes my background. You'd think duct tape actually do something. Okay.
Oh, she's back. I was just doing some ASMR for the fans while you were back. No, I feel like, by like a year or so into their relationship, you stopped, I feel like, being able to blame Dylan for Haley's bad behavior, because
that's right.
Haley definitely was more
of the bad influence. The more like golden retriever he is,
which I think was hot, but
he's not just a deadbeat. He's a cute little guy.
I love Dylan. I would date Dylan.
Okay.
I don't think I would marry Dylan though. He's really dumb.
Did you want to get into hot takes?
Yeah. Do you want to start, or do you want me to start?
I don't have a ton of hot takes, to be honest. I said a couple of things I had issues with already. I have some discussion questions.
Okay, I can
go ahead.
Start a little bit. I don't know how hot these takes are, but I would say that rewatching the show from season 1, Phil is really annoying in the first season. Like, I get why Claire is like resentful and like kind of a bitch to him, because he starts off as being basically just an extra stressor in her life. Like, I feel like never listens, he never does what he's supposed to, and he's basically an extra child. And I find that infuriating in the first season. He like grows up a little bit, I think, throughout the show, and like he becomes more of like, he's an adult but also a child, which is like fun. But in the first couple seasons, I totally get why Claire is the way she is with him, because I was infuriated by him. I was like,
that's actually really validating, because I remember like when I first watched it, I kind of thought Phil was annoying, and it must have been because I just saw like the first couple seasons, and then going back, I was like, how could I ever hate this man? He's so adorable. But that makes sense then if he was a little bit different.
He was just like, I think, like the character shifts a little bit, where like they're like, okay, but he's also a dad and he has to be an adult too. Like, he can't just be a big kid.
Okay,
and like then I start to be like, okay, Claire, stop treating him like he's a child. He's an adult. Like, he should be able to do these things.
That's so interesting. I love that show. That's so interesting.
But yeah, that was one of my hot takes. Is that early Phil
That's
is.
a hot take, I think. I think people love Phil.
Yeah, I mean, Phil is a
But that
lovable
makes
guy.
sense.
My,
That makes sense.
I have another hot take that Claire and Mitch are really, really toxic people.
Yeah, you've mentioned this before. And
It's a Pritchett thing. I mean, I think in part
I agree, but like not with like, I don't think they have any like malintent. I think they work on themselves and grow from it. But no, I agree that they're the source of a lot of like the
it's not.
drama,
Yeah, it's not that I
like
think
the
they have
main character
malintent. Like, I don't think they're trying to be bad people.
Yeah.
I just think that like they have a tendency to act really toxically.
Yeah.
And I think that is okay. I think that is like really frustrating to watch because when they like win fights, like I never want them to win because they're so smug and they always think they're right. And I'm like, you need to, like they're characters who like I genuinely want to see put in their place a lot because I think they can be just so toxic and so bad.
Yeah.
But like I don't think they're bad people. Like I don't think they're trying to like be bad. I think they everything they do is from a place of like love. Like I do think they really care about their family and everything. It's just that I just think they're such toxic people. I couldn't.
They're so petty and like vindictive and like immature. I think in the way they deal with like their emotions, like they're so proud that they can't ever like think, oh, maybe I'm the problem. It's always just quipping at people.
And I do think it's probably a testament to how they were raised.
Yeah, yeah. I think it makes sense that
it makes sense for their characters. It's just I think they're so like they're probably one of my least favorite characters in the show.
It's definitely refreshing when the show I think eventually realizes that and like gives them a character arc and like they do work on their shit and they kind of change a bit. Because yeah, it was getting a bit old at the start, and I don't like hating on those kinds of characters too. Like I feel like, especially for Claire, I feel like the like stay-at-home mom archetype is like very easily hated for like those exact reasons. Like, oh, like my naggy wife, and it's like I like that they did something with that.
It's not that she's nagging. That's not a problem I have with her. Actually, I don't care about that. It's that I think she's downright mean to her family a lot of the time. And I get that, like, she's not trying to be any, like, sure, it starts off from the nagging, but I just think, like, she can kind of, like, I think, like, Alex is, she can kind of be, like, cruel without meaning to be cruel to her family, and that's infuriating. Like I had times when I watched the show a couple years ago, I think, not so much this time around, but a couple years ago, I remember I would think like, why is Phil with Claire at this point? Like she's just gotten so bad that like I don't get it. And like, you know, initially you get their relationship, and I think later I get it more like that they do love each other. But there are some points in the middle there where I'm like, Phil's become like the one I love, and Claire is like so frustrating. But like, I do get like I think she is forced into that role of the bad guy a lot. I just also think she takes it to a whole other level.
Yeah, I remember that like one scene that's like I think pretty well known where like she's supposed to meet Phil for like anniversary dinner, and she's like it ends up to be that she's like tricking him and is going to surprise him with a magic trick, but like up to that point, the dramatic irony is that she's just not she doesn't care, she's at work, she doesn't value their time together and doesn't put any effort into a relationship. And then when he like, called her out at the end, the thing is like I believed that she was doing that. Like I didn't think, oh, she must have something up her sleeve. Like I believe that, oh no, she's ignoring her relationship and this is going to be an issue.
Yeah, that's the thing is like I think she does.
I think it's probably a bad sign.
I think she takes Phil for granted a lot.
Mhm.
And like, I do think, like, again, I thought at the start I understood a lot of Claire's frustrations with Phil. But I think as he grows, she has to recognize that and like also stop seeing like
Yeah.
their relationship. Like, I think she has to stop seeing him for like the person he was before and like notice like that he is a really good husband and like understand his positive qualities.
Like, especially, I think her and Mitch have problems where they need to realize that there's different ways of being like strong and being like a good parent and a good partner. And I think they both go about it similarly, and they have this superiority complex about it, and almost feels like they kind of just, the both of them think that their partners are dumber than them and less capable than them and aren't bringing as much to the table as them. And that kind of comes across in the way they treat them and the way they talk about them, especially with Cam and Mitch.
Okay, my other hot take: Cam and Mitch have a really toxic relationship.
Yeah, they do. And I think they love it for them. Objectively, it looks horrifying and stressful.
Yeah, I think, well, in like the way, in what you were talking about before, it's like with Cam and Mitch, they show it with like Mitch treats Cam a little bit like the woman in the relationship.
Yeah.
And like they show that a lot on like the Mother's Day episode when like everyone thinks, oh, like Cam, Mother's Day is your day.
Or like when
like,
Mitch has to work and Cam has to stay at home.
No, like yeah, when like yeah, Cam stays home and Mitch works, and I think to be fair, Cam wanted to stay home. Like I don't think he wanted to be with his daughter or whatever. But it is very much like yeah, Mitch puts Cam in that position a lot. But Cam does a lot of okay, and this is why I think I don't dislike Mitch to the extent that I never dislike Claire a lot of the time, because Cam does a lot of very toxic things to Mitch that I think are really fucked up. Like when
Cam is a bit of a child.
Yeah, like Cam needs to be the one who's always loved. He needs to be the center of attention. But like when in the episode where like they talk about like him and where his friends think him and Mitch split up, and like Mitch finds out that Cam a while back told their friends that they broke up because Mitch cheated on him, so that they would be on his side after the breakup. I was like, that's an incredibly toxic and like awful thing to do.
Wait,
to
did he actually do that?
Yeah.
That's
so then when their friends thought
the
that
drama is so, like, all of their problems, like all the thought that they insert into that relationship to create like conflict is like oftentimes really serious. It's like, no, this isn't just like a funny gag. Like this is
it's like they didn't it's like I think the way they make Cam behave a lot of the time is like to the extent where it's like, no, this is like deeply fucked up shit that you're doing, and like nobody is like calling you out on it or like making you recognize it. And I think like I don't know, I think every character in this show needs therapy, but I think Cam especially needs therapy. And they mask like they mask his issues a lot of the time by being like, no, he's just like eccentric and he's just like, you know, really like social and emotional. And it's like, no,
it's like when you're charming enough that your issues come across okay, kind of thing. It's like, oh well, you're like funny, so it's probably not actually an issue. I think he's mostly just like, to me, it just always seemed like he was like very like desperately like attention starved, and he basically would do anything for like attention. It was like incredibly needy and intrusive at times.
He definitely is, but I just also think that like he yeah, like I think it's attention stuff, but he also like he needs to be like loved, like he needs to be like beloved by all. Like he's and they like pass everything off he does as like okay because he's just like really emotional, but it's like no, you can be emotional and not be
like a dick to everyone. Yeah.
And I do think like Mitch plays the game, but like I root for Mitch more than I root for Cam in that relationship because I think Cam gets what he wants all the time.
I agree. I think Mitch can take off after his dad in a lot of ways. I think he's a lot less comfortable in his relationship than Cam is, but I think Cam is a lot more manipulative and like hypocritical. So depends which one you think is worse. But yeah, I was gonna say.
But no, I do think Mitch has issues too. It's just that I think that because Cam is so manipulative, Mitch's issues tend to be less of a thing. And I think Cam is such a big personality that like he often like I feel like shoves Mitch aside. Like it feels like, and like there's like an episode where Mitch feels like he's invisible to the family and stuff like that. And I think that would be fine if I thought that Cam gave Mitch, the attention that like he needed and he deserved. But it feels like Cam doesn't necessarily do that or like love him like in the way that like Cam demands to be loved back. Like he demands all this attention and affection from Mitch, but he doesn't always give it. Like he sometimes does, but he doesn't as much.
They're definitely one of those couples, fictional anyway, like that I think like, how the fuck did you guys meet and decide to date each other? Like, what was it about to you that the other was like bringing to the table that you wanted? They don't seem to like have that much in common. The times, actually, I was gonna say this is what I was gonna say, is that the times that I like Mitch and Cam the best, and how I think they should have like really approached the second half of the series, is I liked them when they were dealing with drama from their friends and they had to kind of like team up together and discuss how they were going to get themselves out of a certain situation, or like instead of just throwing the other one in the bus. I think it would have been good if they had that arc where because I think they do kind of eventually have an arc where like they discuss the challenges in their relationship and try to because I think Cam like confronts Mitch on like treating him like the woman in the relationship and stuff. But I feel like the way they build the episodes, it feels like the conflict never really is resolved from that. Like it still becomes the source of a lot of drama. Whereas I liked episodes when they were working together, dealing with drama from other people. And I would have liked to see more of that.
Yeah, I think a big part of the problem with Cam and Mitch's relationship is that I don't think they had as many like overarching like storylines or like overarching growth in their relationship the same way that like Jay and Gloria got, or even Phil and Claire got. And I don't know like why that is specifically, but like I definitely think if their relationship had been paid attention to in a similar way, where like they had season-long arcs, it would help to like address the like issues in their, because they had serious issues in their relationships, and I think each couple did, but the other couples like they all got addressed in an actual way, whereas Cam and Mitch's were always sort of and Cam and Mitch's were always sort of like, oh, it'll just be drama for another episode, so we'll just leave it.
And I wonder if it's like has to do with like maybe it being like a straight writers' room. I don't know what the writers' room diversity is like, but maybe they at the start at least relied a lot on the gimmick when like casting and like building the characters of that relationship, like the gimmick of like, oh, it's the gay couple, and then didn't think about it beyond that, and then maybe that came to bite them later on, where it felt like, well, what are they doing? Maybe they could have gotten divorced. I don't know. You could have shaken things up somehow.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say
just throw something in there.
Yeah, because I do feel like what you said earlier, like they're one of those couples that you like. I've met couples like that in real life too, where it's like, how did you get together, and also like, why are you together?
What do you love about each other? Like,
it seems like they're not happy together, but then they always say that they are, so maybe they are. Like, you don't know other people's relationships, but it's just like
from an outsider, show them like getting along. I think there's like that one episode. Yeah, the only thing I think of was like they like gossiping with each other, and that's fine. I think they should have maybe built on that more. I don't know. They were weird.
I felt like their relationship needed a lot more developing, but I think that could be because like they relied on like the gimmick of like them being the token gay couple.
Yeah.
Also, how are none of the like kids or grandkids gay or bi or anything.
I was thinking that too. It's like, oh, one of them should have came out, but especially because like it's supposed to be a progressive show with like different pieces of diversity in it. It would have been interesting, or at least like one of them to have had like a fling or like have dated someone of the same sex.
Like, I just feel like Haley definitely could have been bi.
Yeah, when they were doing Boyfriend of the Week episodes, throwing a girlfriend could have been
I think
fun.
that would have been great.
Yeah, she's definitely the character that I think it would have been.
Or Luke. I could see Luke being bi too. Just
Yeah,
the slutty
I really
characters,
want to see
basically.
anything with Luke. I think Manny is funny to me because they definitely joked a lot in the first season. Well, joked. They definitely like queer coded him a lot in the first season, I think. Especially with his dynamic with Jay, and then he's just like the straightest kid ever that like
I thought Manny
so
was going to be
girls.
gay.
I thought it was so great. Yeah. I think it's just funny that no, he's just a sensitive straight boy and like a ladies' man, like obsessed.
The more I think about it, the more I think that Luke has dumb bi boy energy, and he should have been bi.
That would have been interesting.
I just like
so there could have been a plot where like, and he's kind of like a golden retriever too, so he wouldn't even have really overthought it. It's just like, hey, I think I'm kind of into guys, and then the next time him and Manny were out cruising for chicks, they could have done episodes like we're cruising for boys now, and then
like I feel like it would have
talked about how to get
been,
boys. Oh, it would have been so good.
I feel like it would have even just been that like Luke like said he had a boyfriend or something, and his family was like making a big deal about it, and Luke was like, oh yeah, like didn't I tell you, like that kind of like mentality of like, oh, it didn't fucking matter.
Yeah, especially for that generation too. Like,
I just think I could see Luke like being like assuming he'd said something and then just like slipping up or some shit like that. I don't know. Anyways,
yeah, or like an episode maybe where they think he's like hiding a girlfriend from them, but it's really like a boyfriend. I don't know. I think that's what sometimes was with sitcoms is like they need to push things more extreme. Like you can do anything with these because it resets every episode. Just have fun plots like that. It's not going to change anything really.
I think sitcom audiences are also really forgiving. Like,
yeah.
If we go like looking at like New Girl, like Winston was a really different character at the start, like what they wanted him to be than what he turned out to be, and nobody cares. Like everyone's like, oh yeah, it's totally fine that like he started as a serious character and now he's just a goof. Like I think they could have easily in Modern Family been like, actually this is a trait about this character, and people kind of would have been like, whatever.
Yeah. No, I agree. Oh, there should have been more. No, it was a good show for all. That's my hot take.
Yeah. My other hot take, which maybe isn't a hot take, is that Gloria and Jay are the healthiest couple on the show.
Oh, that was going to be my discussion question was who do you think is the best couple?
Oh, no way. I think Gloria and Jay have the healthiest relationship. I think because
I think sorry, you go.
I just think because Gloria is really like brutally honest, and yeah, she's hot headed, but like she's like someone who like really forces Jay to open up, and Jay is someone who I think in this case he's benefited from the experience of having like a failed marriage and like his like life experience a lot, so like he understands like what's maybe important in a relationship, and like he's also able to like take Gloria on. Anyways, I think Jay can actually like has the like stubbornness to take on Gloria's stubbornness, so like they can actually like be honest and fight with each other, but then also like push each other to be better. And yeah, I think the fact that he's had like failed relationships, especially his failed marriage, has like shown him what he needs to do and how he needs to be better in a relationship too.
Okay, I agree. Except that I don't. Okay, no, I agree.
No, you say your opinion.
I don't think they're my favorite couple. I think they're my second favorite couple. And the reason being is I think that at least I think Gloria has to work too hard for Jay's approval all the time. Like I think she spends a lot of time needing to prove herself and like argue because he is very stubborn And I think she does like that, but I think it goes to an extreme where I find a bit frustrating is I feel like she always is fighting with him, and she always needs to be like explaining how she wants to be treated, where it's also a certain point where it feels like I don't know necessarily what they got married on then. It feels maybe a little bit like they did get married due to stereotype reasons of she needed a green card or something like that. But I think it matches the patterns of that a little bit too closely at times.
But I just don't think that Gloria, like, I never got the feeling that she felt like she had to prove herself to him. I felt like she had to prove herself to his family a lot, but I never felt like she ever needed his approval. Like, I think that's why I like them is because they're such strong personalities. But you're right, they are always fighting, and I think that's how they communicate.
Do you have sustainable relationships like that?
I think that's like their love language is that they're always fighting. I wouldn't want to be in it. I'm just saying it's my favorite relationship.
No, it's your favorite relationship show?
No, of the show.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh.
We all know I'm a friends to lovers girl.
I think I do have to say Claire and Phil is my favorite.
I knew that was coming.
I think they're just like the most perfectly matched couple. I think they just balance each other so well, and like they really feel like characters that are in love without a question. Whereas the others, I think it's a little bit of a less well fitting puzzle to me at least. But I don't have any expansion on that. It might just be purely bad space.
Hey, that's fine. I just think I get too frustrated with Claire for her to be like my favorite couple. But like I get it. I think they are.
Phil's hot.
Yeah. Well, Phil is hot. But
so maybe I'm just projecting, but
Laura is also hot. I also think, yeah, I don't know. We can have different opinions on it.
No, it's okay. No, I agree that they also have a really like cute, healthy. As long as we both agree that it's not Mission Kim.
I think I think they both have like grow into having healthy relationships.
Okay, I agree with you.
Like I think both of their relationships start with like having issues that they do need to work through, and I think they get worked through in a really like subtle and like good way. The way that like if Mitch and Cam had done that, it would be better. Like I think I like Haley and Dylan more than I like Mitch and Cam.
I would do too. Like, I don't want Mitch and Cam to break up, but
I just think it would have been good if they worked
like a weird
it.
anomaly. The chemistry is weird. I don't know.
Do you have any other discussion questions?
Well, you know, I was gonna say I think the best dynamic on the show. There's so many good ones, but I think Haley and Phil is a really cute one. Maybe Jay and Manny as well. The parents. Offspring relationships.
I really like Jay and Phil. I like
Gloria and Claire, really good one.
Yeah,
Luke and Phil, really good one.
I like Luke and Manny a lot. They're really sweet. Luke and Phil are also really good.
They're also good.
That's the thing. All the dynamics are so good. I like Mitch and Haley. I think it's really funny.
Remember when Manny had a crush on Haley for like all of the first 2 seasons?
Anyways, yeah, I think all the dynamics, they do a really good job with character dynamics. Like with making the characters have good, like.
Yeah, the chemistry is pretty on point.
Well, it seems like the cast is really tight knit, so it was.
Yeah, it shows.
I read an article that was basically saying, Modern Family, like, where's the spinoff? Like, it felt like they were giving you a bunch of opportunities to, like, make a spinoff with the many different things they do, and they just didn't.
Yeah, I don't feel like they'll do it eventually.
Yeah, I didn't feel like I needed it.
Because I feel like, as with all spinoffs these days, it will be bad. But I'm sure they will, especially because none of them have, like, really, like.
I think it would be fun to see just like a mini series of Claire and Phil on their RV trip. I feel like it would be fun to see them interacting with like other people. Okay, well,
stay tuned for a review. That's
whenever it comes into reality.
Well, this was a lovely discussion. It really revitalized how much I love and care about the show. How well written it is, how good the characters are.
It was really fun to talk about a show that I like, really like and respect also. After last week.
Riverdale, I struggle, dude.
Yeah. After Riverdale and after realizing how angry Bridgerton made me, it was really nice to do a show that brought just like happiness into my life.
So many good aspects.
Anyways, can't wait to go back to hate watching something, but it was fun while it lasted.